a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
It has been 58 and a half years since Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his iconic "I Have a Dream" speech. Since that time, Congress has passed the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and many other steps have been taken to improve equality for Americans of color. Still, we continue to see instances of individual and institutional racism and bigotry right here in Utah and across the country.
Fox 13 News anchor Bob Evans joins us live in studio tonight. So nice to have you here, Bob. And I understand this is after an honest conversation with members of Utah's Black community about their experience here. Bob.
That's right, Brian and Amy. With the help of someone who has their finger on the pulse of Utah's Black community, Ramone Vaughn, owner of Brickyard Barbershop in Millcreek, we gathered 9 Utahns and asked them to share with us where we are on the road to reaching Dr. King's dream. Brandon, let's start with you.
You know, unfortunately, in so many ways, I don't feel like that much progress has been made. The things that he was advocating for at the time in terms of segregation, in terms of policing, black wealth, those things statistically are almost in the exact same place as back in 1963 when he was still fighting his fight. So unfortunately, like a lot of times I get sad to think about after everything that he did and everything he said and everything that, all the sacrifices that he made, in the most important ways, we're still in the same spot.
And Ava Rose, where do you feel like we are?
Being a kid in the school system in Utah, it feels unwelcoming at my high school. It doesn't feel like much has changed. A lot of the people at our schools kind of look over the Black people.
I think growing up here has made me kind of ignorant to a lot of things in my personal culture and the things that I should know about anything cultural. And as I've gotten older, I've seen things that I didn't see before. And I think there has been...
Like what?
I allowed a lot of people to get away with things that shouldn't have been okay. I allowed people to talk to me a certain way. I was one of like 5 Black people at my high school period, and there were a lot of discriminatory things said that I didn't take to heart. Being young, sometimes you don't realize the things that are being said.
Tiffany, you're on the front lines in school, and certainly you have thought about this.
Our first teachers are our parents and our families, so most of what you learn comes directly from home. As a Black teacher in high school, I'm typically students' first Black teacher. And I also teach social studies, which is now faced with new issues with the whole critical race theory. Things that were taught as history before are now seen as a political agenda.
Do you feel like you have to walk on eggshells in a certain kind of way?
I have. I've been ran out of a school. In South Jordan, I was ran out of a school for teaching civil rights, which is part of the Utah Core. But they said, we're saying things, you're making my kid feel guilty, you're making my kid feel like they own slaves, when really I did my lesson planning with the other teachers. We all talked about what we were going to teach about, but coming from a Black woman, they felt like I had an agenda to push onto their children when I was just stating the facts and the truth. And sometimes the truth can be uncomfortable.
It's never going to be equal across the board for the rest of our lives. We all know that. But the fact is that we all got to understand that we have the grit to fight. Through adversity comes great things. We got to make sure that we find the way so we can step forward instead of looking at ourselves as a color. You fight it with like positivity and turning something negative into something positive.
You know, I'm a psychologist, so I have kids, they'll come and say, hey, my skin looks like poop. Well, no, your skin is beautiful. Let's break down the science of it. You have more melanin so you can protect yourself from the sun, right? And hey, I'm Black and I'm proud. There's nothing wrong with being proud. It's not making somebody else uncomfortable. It's just embracing who you are and being proud. And it starts at home. I think there's a lot of different nuances in the I Have a Dream speech, but I think the conclusion is that we need more people of color in positions of power.
Jacob, let's get you in here. You just told me that you work a whole bunch of different jobs.
So I'm adopted, so I have white parents. And so people they'll be like, oh, you just put on the white side of you, and that's how you're getting these jobs. Like you're...
Say that to you?
Yeah, all the time. Because I'm adopted and don't have the so-called black background, they think that like it's almost a stepping stone for me because I know how to play both sides per se, which I don't think it's true. I'm just me. Like
black people and white people want to put black people in just a certain culture. You're supposed to be a certain way. You're supposed to dress a certain way. You're supposed to listen to only one kind of music. But being black in Utah, you kind of have to experiment with all of the above. And so when I lived in Indianapolis when I was young, they made fun of me because I talked white. And the only difference was just I pronounced R's and things of the sort they did.
Caitlin.
I like that. We're very versatile. They like to make you seem like we only sing, we only play sports. There's so many things black people can do.
Absolutely.
Like I want to be an architect.
Talk about that microaggression.
You know, I get a lot of, you speak so well, right? Or, I just love the way that you present yourself and things like that, which is a compliment, but it's just like at the same time they view black people as this box that we've been referring to or something that is maybe slightly less than because they didn't expect me to be able to speak the way that I do, right?
One time I was at the bank and a lady came up to me. She said, you're good looking for a black man. So I was like, thank you. I said, well, hold on. What?
I can't just be good looking?
Yes.
During our discussion, I didn't ask all the questions. Our guests started asking each other.
just with my age, like I'm trying to figure out if this is a state I do want to continue to grow up in, to continue to raise a family in and stuff like that. So I just want to throw a question of the group is like, what has kept you here?
I love Utah. I used to not like it just because of the problems that I had. The thing about Utah now is for a black man, a black person being in this state, I think there's a lot of opportunities here because there's so many people that have no problem with your race. If you get that opportunity, you take that opportunity, you make the best that you can. Like in the back of my shirt, it says never give up.
A lot of people stay here because it's safer here, so you have to pick your battles in every state that you're in. Do you want to get shot, or do you want to, like, you know, be able to be home and then face the microaggressions here and there?
The reason why my family has stayed here is because of our church and what we believe in. And honestly, it's created belonging. I go to a Pentecostal church and it's really amazing.
So I've already decided when I start having children, like I'm going to move. Like I want my kids to grow up in a place where there is more diversity, where they can find and be appreciated much more in their communities, where they're not alone going to school and trying to learn how to set those boundaries all by themselves.
But that's the problem, is that we don't want to be somewhere where we're uncomfortable, we feel like we can't learn and grow. But who's going to do it if we don't do it?
My second son is a senior, and then my youngest is going to be a junior in high school. But I tell them, I don't care where you go to college as long as it's not here. I want them just to be able to experience different kind of cultures and areas and then decide if this is the right place for them.
Martin Luther King said, don't judge me by the color of my skin, but the content of my character. And I feel out of all the places that I've ever lived, and I've lived a lot of places, Utah kind of embraces that.
Truly a fascinating and enlightening discussion, and that was just 7 minutes and 35 seconds of it. We actually went on much longer than that, but you can see our group had a wide variety of opinions and insights. In fact, we encourage you to go and watch the entire conversation where we talk about a broad range of topics, including what Dr. King referred to as the tranquilizing drug of gradualism. The tranquilizing drug of gradualism, and whether we're all guilty of it. They had something to say about that. To watch the whole discussion, just go to fox13now.com.
Really interesting, Bob. As you mentioned, this was about a 90-minute conversation.
It was.
And with so many different important perspectives. Was there something that you learned from this that maybe you didn't expect?
Well, one of the things, I mean, I could go on forever. And in fact, the conversation, we admitted at the time we could keep talking all afternoon long. And in fact, we may come back and do it again. But the one thing that I would say that I came away with was how genuine and how wonderful our black friends and neighbors are. They are deep thinkers. They are hard workers. They are everything that you would expect them to be, you know, and the wonderful thing is that they are anxious to engage with us, anxious to be our friends, anxious to reach out and truly be brothers and sisters, like Dr. King said.
Well, thank you for that open and honest and very raw conversation. Again, you can watch the whole conversation right now on our website, fox13now.com. Thanks, Bob.
You bet.